Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for being part of our program. Here we are together again on the radio. I made a comment on the air, and I want to elaborate on it because made some people angry. And while it may be a pointed remark, I don't think there's any reason to be angry about it. I suggested on the program that instead of telling little girls they can grow up to be president and at the same time they can have babies and whatever, I suggested that we give little girls basketballs and garden hoses and teach them how to suck through the hose. That is a pointed remark, of course. But let's not forget about how a lot of business is done, how the skids are greased. Let's not forget that marriage is a corporation contract. It's a corporate agreement in which two individuals, guided by absolutely no logic whatsoever, decide to sign up and form a corporation in which each partner owns 50%. Although, unlike a normal corporation, each partner will not put in 50% of the capital. And so the capital has to be made up for in other ways. The male, usually the one putting in more of the capital, more of the financial capital, ends up being compensated through basketballs being sucked through garden hoses, meals made, shirts ironed, socks folded, and children reared. That's the deal. That is what it's all about. Little girls who know how to suck a basketball through a garden hose will go a long way, especially if they are attractive. These are the hot chicks driving the nice cars, the BMWs, the Mercedes, the Ferraris. Those hot little blondes driving that Boxster around. That didn't come from nowhere. And they don't call it a Boxster for nothing. Somebody boxed her in order for her to get that car. That's how I got the name. Did you know that? It's true. When you see a girl driving a Boxster, the question is, who boxed her? You always wonder why it was called a Boxster. Now you know. You will notice that fat, homely, ugly, greasy chicks are never driving nice cars. They drive the Kias. I mean, that's who the Kias are for. You know, they drive the low-end Hyundais. They drive the little Honda Civics around. They drive the used Mazda GLCs and things like that. That is what homely, greasy girls drive. The irony of it all is, another one of the many ironies of Darwinism, as I see Darwinism, is that the fatter a girl is, the less space there is between her gut and the steering wheel. So you see the really hot, thin girls driving cars with miles and miles of legroom. And you see the fat, homely girls with a big steering wheel implant in one of the rolls of fat above their navel. That's just the way it is. That's also why you hear the fat, homely girls bragging that they bought their own truck on this show. They need a truck to haul that butt around. That's just the way it is. What is wrong with instructing young girls about the reality of adulthood? The realities of adulthood are as follows. If your little girl is growing up to be one hot number, tell her that not only can she accomplish anything she wants to in life, she can also do absolutely nothing. And people will flock to her, and they will shower her with money and gifts and travel, purses, belts, shoes, condominiums. Literally, whatever their little hearts desire, they'll get it. It will be one of those hot girls driving one of those expensive fast cars around. And if your girl is growing up to be, face it, chunky, homely, fugly, you can start to see that. Really, even around 6, 7 years old, you can start to see what you're going to get. when the egg is fully hatched. And I think it's a good idea to sit those girls down and say, look, girls, you either get your face out of the KFC bucket and the Happy Meals, or you're going to have to simply go to school, get the most advanced degree you can get, and plan on working your way up the corporate ladder. And when you do that, the odds are you'll end up being some kind of a spinster or a cat lady, or you'll be, Aunt Jennifer, who comes over on the holidays to visit the siblings who do have children, because they could meet a man who was willing to pay the bill for that. Now, I know this sounds harsh, but it's true. I just can't understand why anybody would get upset because I tell the truth.
Tom Leykis. 1-800-5800-TOM. Tom Leykis. 1-800-5800-866.
There's not a day goes by where my wife and I don't come home and say, hey, well, did you hear what Tom was talking about? Or get into a nice argument or discussion about it. Cool.
It's the Tom Leykis Show.
Tom Leykis Show at 1-800-5800-TOM. That's our telephone number. It's Sue on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Hi, Tom. I was just wondering if you have any daughters, and if not, what kind of relationship you have with your mother.
Do you want me to answer these questions? You're just going to keep asking an entire laundry list here.
Sorry, go ahead.
You ask if I had any daughters? I've had many daughters. Most of them belong to other people.
Oh. Now, I guess...
You know what I mean?
Meaning you don't raise them, or they just weren't yours, and you were with women that had daughters already?
No. I was with women who were somebody else's daughters.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yes, I've had daughters.
Okay. I guess your views are what they are, and they work for you, and
they work for a lot of people.
Exactly. So I'm just wondering, your relationship with your own mother,
My mom died in 1998.
I'm not saying anything bad, but when she was alive, if your views were still the same, how did you guys get along with that?
I had a very good view of my mother. My mother, though, was a traditional housewife. So while other women were out fulfilling themselves and running around fulfilling themselves, and frequently having sex with the people they were working with and stuff, my mother was home waxing the floor.
Well,
so, you see, dear, before you say another word and make another bad assumption, keep in mind that having a mother who is a traditional housewife, you have to admit that the opinions of a traditional housewife are much more in line with my opinions.
Well, they are, but I don't know. I stay home with my children.
So why would you assume that my opinions mean I had some kind of damaged relationship with my mother?
No, I never assumed that.
My opinions come from being raised, dear, I'm going to finish this sentence. My opinions come from being raised in a household by a traditional housewife. That is where my opinions come from. So contrary to what you assumed in your question, the fact that I had a mother and that I had a relationship with my mother. How was my relationship? Super spectacular, wonderful. Because I'm sure my mother agrees with most everything I say.
Well, I guess just like your statement that women are no benefit to man, did your mom feel that she was a benefit to your father at all?
Well, that is not what I said, dear. You're not quoting me.
Okay.
I said there's no benefit to a man to get married.
To get married, okay.
That is what I said, and you are misquoting me. And then your whole call is based on this false assumption, based on not listening to what I said.
Well, I guess you're right. It is my assumption. I guess I just...
well, why do you do that? Why don't you first clarify my position before you start yammering?
Well, that's why I'm calling, I guess.
No. You shoot first and ask questions later. You make erroneous assumptions. Then you make bogus arguments based on erroneous assumptions. Then I'm forced to correct you like the old Emily Littell. Never mind. You didn't say, that's different. Yeah, well, the fact is, if you're going to make these comments, you should first ascertain what my real opinion is.
Well, that's why my first question was how your relationship was with your mother.
It was spectacular. No, by asking the question you were applying, my relationship was bad.
Well, I was just trying to understand, because obviously the women nowadays have different views I guess they wouldn't want to raise their daughters to learn to suck balls through hoses if they're attractive, or I guess to me it doesn't sound like it's much to value. I don't know.
Well, I really think it's more realistic. I mean, if you have a fat and fugly girl, there's no point telling her she can grow up to be anything she wants, because she can't.
Well, my question is emotionally. I mean, if you're looking black and white as like a business and corporate and, you know,
I'm looking at what the real world is like, not the fantasy world that women like you like to create.
Well, I mean, everybody's born with certain emotions and ideas. I mean, that's...
But I'm dealing with, it's called reality. That's what I'm dealing with.
Okay. All right.
And you have a problem with reality, don't you?
No, I just think that there's more to it than just roles that people play, I guess.
Well, the fact is, hot chicks drive fast cars that somebody else bought for them.
Okay.
By the way, how do I know that? I'm not just speculating. I have spoken to car dealers. I have asked them, how often does a woman come here and write a check for a car? Answer, almost never.
Well, what about the exceptions to the rule? I mean,
I don't care about exceptions to the rule. The exception proves the rule. And by the way, there are women who come in and buy expensive cars. They generally are homely, chunky, aging, and therefore they work harder because they don't have to worry about picking up after their men. And then ultimately they treat themselves with a nice car. Those are the exceptions to the rule.
Well, okay, so then what's your idea of, I guess, what a woman should be? That would be something considered worthwhile by most men. I mean,
a man has the most attractive woman he can afford.
And that's all that...
That's a fact. In fact, statistics have borne this out. We have read statistics on the air, documented, studies, that show that a woman who is overweight can expect to be with a lower income, lesser educated man. That's simply a fact.
Okay, but I just didn't think that was all there was ever to it, and I guess I still don't, I guess.
Well, dear, you know, you're living in the Walt Disney fairy tale universe. But out here in the real world, hot chicks drive fast cars.
Okay.
And fat and homely chicks have to work for years and save to buy a fast car.
Okay, Tom.
And you don't like that, do you?
I don't agree with it, but you're entitled.
You don't agree with it? Well, how many fat, homely chicks do you see driving really hot, expensive, sexy cars?
Well, being as I'm a traditional housewife, I don't get out that often.
Oh, don't use that as an excuse, dear.
Well, I have...
you go to the supermarket.
I have single family members that buy their own vehicles.
I'm not talking about buying their own vehicles. What vehicles are they buying? Kias? Hyundais?
Well, I think
Honda Civics?
I think the Honda and the Toyota Corollas and all of those are nice-looking cars.
No, dear, they are very reliable cars, and I love them both very much. I have very great fondness for them for when I was poor.
So
I drove many Hondas. I bought them new, and I love them to death, and I drove them into the ground, and I absolutely love them. But, you know, I bought a Honda because it was all I could afford.
Okay.
You see?
Okay.
Anybody who can afford to buy more than a Honda does. It's not just Hondas. I mean, I drive a Toyota. It's called a Lexus LS430. It's made by Toyota. Now, I love the Toyota Corolla, and frankly, it's my favorite rental car. And if I were buying, you know, if I had a kid and I were going to buy them a car as a gift, it would definitely be a Toyota Corolla. I think that is a spectacular car, one of the greatest values in the world of any consumer product. That's how highly I think of it. But, dear, I'm a multimillionaire. I don't have to drive a Toyota Corolla.
Okay.
So you see, and by the way, men see women the way men see cars. We all drive the nicest car we can afford. Some guys are married to a Toyota Corolla.
Oh, reliable, huh?
Reliable, dependable, not very stylish looking. You know, goes over the speed bumps. But every man who can afford to upgrade to a Lexus does.
Honestly, you believe that? I mean, you wouldn't think that...
Some guys are married to a Lexus, some a Toyota.
Well, what about the guys that are married to the Lexus that aren't happy and go to the Corollas? I mean...
Men do not go the other direction.
I think they do.
No, I don't see it. You're telling me there's guys who are married to a Lexus who suddenly decide they want to trade down to a Toyota Corolla?
Well, I mean, I don't know if you traded up with all of your marriages, but you obviously weren't happy with them.
Dear, the logic. Let me give you an example. I've had 4 Lexi, okay?
Okay.
Now, I had a 97, a 99, an 01, and an 05. Now, I loved every one of them. But at one point, the new car smell is gone. And it's time to palm that car off on somebody else. Get something with lower mileage. And that's how I see relationships.
So then what about the women that stay in the traditional mother role? I mean, obviously it's a value to raise children that love or have their own viewpoints and have great relationships with their mother.
I think that's fine. And by the way, I have no interest in having children. But even guys who have children, frankly, guys who are interested in having children, ultimately at some point they want to trade up to a nicer car.
Yeah, but I guess...
That's why so many guys pay child support. You know what they say? You know why divorce is so expensive? Because it's worth it.
Well, do you agree with it? Besides the fact that it's your opinion of the real world, I mean, do you agree with that opinion? I mean...
It doesn't matter. There's no point. Like, do I agree that the sun comes up every morning? Is that a good thing? Does it really matter? It's going to come up every morning.
Well, your show's based on your opinion, so I would think...
No, but I'm just saying it doesn't matter if I like it or I don't. That's the way the world is.
Okay.
That's how it is. Are you married, dear?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, how long you been married?
6 years.
How's it going?
I'm sorry?
How is it going?
I'm happy.
Is he happy?
He says he's happy.
He says he's happy. So you're not even sure?
I know he's happy, but I don't want to assume to know anybody if they all think like you, so I'm going to say yes.
You'd be surprised how many guys think like me, dear.
Well, that's why I'm wondering if, what's your opinion on, that's why I'm concerned about what your opinion is on your own show about men wanting to trade up if they have a woman at home that takes care of the children. And
well, the thing is, if we divorce you, you'll still be home taking care of the children, but we'll be looking at somebody who looks better naked than you.
Okay.
And that's the ultimate goal of a lot of guys, to get you to continue raising the kids while we continue to get younger, hotter, fresher models.
Okay, I think I'd rather stay oblivious then.
By the way, dear, just gotta get the stats on your odometer there. How tall are you, dear?
I'm 5'4".
How much do you weigh?
I don't even want to say.
It's that much, huh?
Well, I mean, not that much, but I'm not what I was.
Well, that's my point, dear. You see, if you were not married, you would be what you were before you got married.
Yeah, but to me, it's a worthy trade-off to have a happy family.
But you don't have to trade it off. You don't have to be fat to be happy.
Well,
you don't have to be fat to have a happy family.
Oh, I see. I'm actually losing weight now, but after 4 children, it kind of adds up. And then now you take the time, but I'm just saying, just because I could have stayed skinny and not had children and been married, I chose to get married and have children, and I'm happy anyways.
Yes, but you could have stayed on that treadmill, dear.
Well, I'm back on it, so.
Yeah, but after 4 kids.
Well, that's part of life.
Yeah, but dear, the point is being on the treadmill should be part of life, too, and it's not for you.
Well, it is again.
But it hasn't been for how many years?
For 5 years.
5 years.
But it had been for...
So let me understand. You had, in the last 60 months, you've been pregnant for 36 of them.
Yeah. Yes, that's right.
Unbelievable.
Well, and that's the other thing, too. I mean, men gain weight when they're married, but they...
Yeah, but the men are paying the bill, dear.
I understand that.
And it's something about, and by the way, it's something about biology, okay?
Okay.
I mean, a man is visually stimulated. He cannot become aroused if he looks at you naked and you are a plethora of stretch marks, spider veins, hemorrhoids, droopy fried eggs, and, he just can't get stimulated, you say.
So if a guy's with a woman that has no personality or just generally just not...
I have always said...
you want to have a conversation with, that's more attractive just because he's...
If I could get a combination of Selma Hayek and Forrest Gump, that would be a quinella.
But I thought we were talking about the real world.
I'm talking about the real world. Hot chick who has nothing to say. Perfect.
I guess that brings me back to my question about, like, your viewpoints, how your mother felt about him. Did she just not care, I guess, that you had...
Did my mother not care about what?
I guess that you had taste like that. I don't know. I guess that...
My mother was old school, dear. And my opinions are old school. If anything, I'm a product of my mother.
Okay, so then let's say your father felt that way about your mother. How would she feel about it, I guess, and does that matter to you?
Well, I can't tell you now because my mom died 8 years ago, so I really can't go back and ask her.
Well, I know, but just from...
I don't know. I don't know. Well, yeah, here's the thing. My parents never really talked to me about their relationship.
But you had to know your mom's personality, whether
it doesn't mean I know about their relationship. I don't know what their... Maybe he did talk to her like that. I don't know.
Well, if he did have the views you do, or is a man...
You know what? I was not as close to my dad. In fact, it's ironic that you would think there was something wrong with my relationship with my mom. I had a great relationship with my mom and not much of a relationship with my dad.
Well, see, I don't really think that you had issues. Because every kid's different, but obviously your opinions have to matter at some point to your mom of what, her son thinks is worthwhile in a woman.
Well, again, I think if you think about it, my opinions really do resemble the opinions of an old-school stay-at-home housewife. She pretty much was there serving her husband and serving the family.
But,
she didn't have a big mouth and talk about how she needs to have it all, and she needs to go out and work, and she needs to put us in daycare and all those other things that today's big-mouth, chunky broads are always advocating.
Well, just because she stayed at home and was happy with those roles, the domestic roles, she still had to have some self-respect and have an opinion about herself.
Well, but the point is, most women these days think the only way to have self-respect is to have a job.
Well, I don't agree with that because I know quite a few people that stay home with their children and have self-respect.
Right.
And their husbands aren't trading them in.
All right, dear. Well, this has been a very long call, and I know you could sit on here with me all day, but I can't do it.
Tom Leykis. 1-800-5800-TOM. 1-800-5800-866.
Oh, Tom, you're so not nice.
I'm just honest.
I know. I love you for it.
The Tom Leykis Show.
97.1.
KLSX Free FM.
Tom Leykis Show from Los Angeles at 1-800-5800-TOM. Trish on the Tom Leykis Show.
Hi, how are you?
Great.
Actually, I wanted to say hi to my dad because I feel like, I'm learning a lot from you as well. Both me and my husband, we both decided that if we had known about you before we got married, we would not have gotten married, so...
Very
but
good.
Needless to say, we did. Anyways, I have a question with what you said about how how you're supposed to raise your girls if they're pretty and ugly. Well, I have a daughter, and I plan on raising her in that way. But my question is, if I'm raising her like that, telling her that, guys will give you money and you'll be able to get cars and blah, blah, blah if you do these things. Well, but at the same time, though, you're teaching guys not to pay for anything. So... how's that?
Yeah, but all guys don't listen to this show. All guys are not Leykis 101 students. There are plenty of saps out there, and you hear them call in all the time.
Yeah.
Who think that if you spend enough money, you can get any woman you want. And I think it's just if you have enough money, you can get any woman you want. And the more you spend, the less likely it is you'll get her.
Okay.
So the fact is there are plenty of saps out there who will buy her a car. By the way, the nicest car I ever bought for a woman was a Toyota.
Okay. Well, it was funny when you were mentioning all the cars, and we just bought a Hyundai, so I just thought that was kind of funny. I was like, wow.
Does anybody ever say, ask your husband if he ever fell asleep at night as a teenager and said, I'm dreaming of the day I can buy a Honda.
I'll tell you right now, he never thought that.
Nobody ever thought that.
That's so messed up. Wow.
It's true, isn't it?
I know.
And that's why the guys who are married to Honda Civics, they didn't dream of marrying a Honda Civic. They realized that's all they could get.
Right. Well, in my defense, I'm not a Hyundai girl. I am actually a motorcycle girl. So, because we just bought a new bike this weekend. So, and I've been riding it more than he has. So.
But you understand what I'm saying here.
Oh, right. You know. And I don't want my daughter to be a Honda Civic girl at all.
You want her to be a Testarossa.
You know, support herself and things like that. But I also want her to be able to get what's rightfully hers as a hot girl. So.
The thing is, she doesn't even have to get anything on her own. All she has to do is take everything she's given and put it away.
So that's what I should be teaching her.
Well, yeah. I mean, the one thing that hot daughters need to be taught is to save money, not for a rainy day, but for the day when their looks start to fade.
Right.
Because that's when they're going to need it. You know, Los Angeles and Beverly Hills specifically are littered with 42-year-old women who were all that 20 years ago, and who were given, you name it, cars and trips and condos and everything, and they just spent their way through figuring they would just keep going through guy after guy after guy, and the money will keep pouring in. Then eventually one day you see these women who are living in a one-bedroom apartment, you know, talking wistfully about the days when they used to have it.
Yeah, with all their cats. And mementos from the good old days.
And facelifts. They've had one too many.
Right. Right. Oh, yes. I've definitely seen that.
Yes.
Yeah, and you're right. I don't want her to be that either. So
you need to make sure she knows to put that money away and invest it. When guys give it to her, save it.
Good.
Because one day she won't be hot anymore, and then guys won't give her money anymore.
I know. Eventually the day will come. I know. So I definitely want her to get it while she can and save it and invest it and do stuff like that.
Right.
All right, good. Well, I just want you to know that I am a student, and I have been, you know, since I heard you guys on the radio. So just want to let you know thank you, and I'll keep listening.
Thank you, Trish.
Oh, will you take me out Indian tribal style, though?
Of course I will. One 1-800-5800-TOM. This is Heidi. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Hey, I would just want to start by saying that I really do agree with a lot of what you say, but sometimes your comments about women suggest, at least to me, that you see them as inferior. And I'm commenting today...
Oh, I'm not saying they're inferior. I think they serve different functions than men do.
And I agree, but...
Men earn money, save, invest, plan for the future. Women suck basketballs through garden hoses, spend money, buy clothing, accessories, knickknacks, tchotchkes, doodads, and spend every penny down to the end.
Well, I think some of that is true with some women. I think with other women it's not. I think, you know, as a whole, I tend to have educated friends. I have beautiful, educated friends who have taken care of themselves over the years, who still have hot bodies and beautiful faces and want to make their man happy, but they've also continued to pursue their own interests. And sometimes... Well,
I'm not seeing women like that. I am seeing women who other women find non-threatening and call them beautiful, but in reality the word hot would not come into the vocabulary.
Yeah, and I can appreciate it.
Kind of like all the women who think Meg Ryan is beautiful. But would any man say she's hot? Would any man have said she was hot 10 years ago?
She used to be cute. I think she looks deformed.
Well, she always made the list of 10 most beautiful women. And
you don't agree?
Oh, no man would agree.
Yeah, I can see that.
That's not the kind of chick a guy wants.
And I understand that. I want to ask you a question.
Jessica Alba, that's the kind of chick a guy wants.
Yeah. But she's not going to be the way she is forever either. And at some point,
there'll be a new list at that time. When Jessica Alba's daughter is on it, I'll be voting for her, too.
Okay. Well, I want to, because earlier when you were talking 2 calls ago, you were talking to that girl about your mom and how your mom, being a stay-at-home mom, was taking care of business in the home, and she wasn't out. I can't remember your exact words, but...
By the way, if I may interrupt, and I don't mean to interrupt you because I know you have something to say here. I find it fascinating that the way women think. You talk about, oh, well, she won't look that good in a few years. Who cares? By a few years from now, I've gotten what I've needed, and I moved on. I trade up to a new model.
And I want to say something about that as well, but I want to go back to one comment.
Oh, go right ahead.
Okay, well, just back to when you were referring to your mother staying at home.
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact words you used, but you did suggest, at least I thought, that your mother staying home and not going out and, I want to say, indulging herself was what she was supposed to do. And I just think, okay, I do stay at home. I have a PhD, but at some point I stopped working. I stay home. I take care of the kids. I take care of my husband.
Good.
Take care of the house. But I still want to indulge myself. And sometimes your comments suggest that...
I think if you have kids, you owe it to them to be there.
Yes,
kids are not a fashion accessory. They are not arm candy. They are not something cute to have a christening for and have a big baby shower. They are a full-time, 18-year responsibility. And anybody who doesn't want that shouldn't be having them. The idea of having kids, dropping them on the world, and going back to work, dropping them on some daycare center somewhere is repulsive to me.
Well, and I agree with you. But
the daycare centers are raising the carjackers of the future.
I agree, but I do think there's room for women to indulge themselves.
If you want to indulge yourself, do it before you have kids.
I did and I do, and there's balance. There's absolutely balance.
No, well, you know what? The kids need you. They don't need balance. They need you.
But they're not here all the time.
So if you're dumping them off on somebody else for play dates or in daycare centers...
They're in school. I mean, I think that there are times when, you could, and then when the kids come home, I'm home. That's my responsibility. That's what I do. That's what I love. But, I just wanted to say something about women should be able to indulge themselves. The other thing I want to ask you, and I think this often when you're talking about women, I know you don't have children, and I know you don't intend to have children and don't want to have children, but if you did have a daughter, and you ask people all the time to surmise what they might think in other situations that they're not currently in, so I'm asking you, if you did, would you want her to grow up and date men that follow your guidelines, that only use her until she's not the most attractive thing in the room, that...
Everybody who's called this show, I've given advice to fit them. So when women have called in, I have given them advice not as a man who wants to nail them, but advice for them. I mean, it's war out there. Okay, so if I were raising a daughter, I would certainly tell her to, look, this is valuable information to have, if only to figure out what you're going to get from a man and what you need, and then move accordingly.
Well, what if she was hot? I mean, you could tell she was going to be hot. She was going to have a great body. She has a beautiful face, but she also had brains. And if she pursues the brainy side of herself, and
if she was really brainy, she would not waste it on getting PhDs and stuff. Instead, she'd use that body beginning about age 15 or 16 to get men to give her cash, to shower her with gifts, and then she would save and invest it for the ultimate day when men would not give her anything anymore.
But that's the part of me that feels that you see us as inferior, because she has the ability to be hot and have any man she wants and take care of herself and not take advantage of men like you often accuse women of doing. And you could raise her to be the kind of woman who takes care of her own business, buys her own cars, buys her own homes, pays her own bills. But she could also be...
But she doesn't have to do that.
Pardon?
But she doesn't have to do that.
But it might be very fulfilling to do that, just like it's very fulfilling for a lot of men to do that.
Well,
take care of themselves.
I don't think women find it fulfilling. I'll give you an example. Have you seen this Elizabeth Vargas?
Yeah.
Been anchoring the news.
Yes.
And now she got preggers.
Yes.
And now she's leaving.
Well, do you think that's her choice or theirs?
Actually, the story is saying that it was her choice. And, in fact, there are a bunch of quotes from her in this story talking about stepping down from doing the news.
Yeah. Well, and I, too, have given up my career so that I can be the best mom that I can be. And at times it's challenging, but I'm glad I did it. I wouldn't change it for the world. But I think to teach men...
You've got to teach girls to grow up according to what their assets are going to be.
Tom Leykis. 1-800-5800-TOM. Tom Leykis.
You want to know what my ideal woman is? Okay? My ideal woman will turn into a six-pack and a sandwich after I'm done effing her.
The Tom Leykis Show.